Biased parents supported Golden Sister over us. I exposed her truth to them. She's now getting divorced. This is about my younger sister, Sarah. We are 3 siblings. Layla, 26 female, I, 24 male, and Sarah, 19 female. You see, Layla and I have an age difference of 2 years, while Sarah is way younger than both of us. So we all loved her very dearly. When she was 6 months old, she got very sick. Her pulse rate dropped. The doctor said that her chance of survival was thin, but she survived. Mom and Dad started looking at it as some sort of miracle. Our love for her grew manifold because at one point it was almost certain that we were going to lose her. However, Sarah took our love for granted and turned out to be an entitled brat. We were still very young when Layla and I cautioned our parents about pampering Sarah so much, but they didn't listen to us. Since I was the second child, most of Layla's stuff was passed on to me. Crib, pram, bike, everything. Even some of her clothes, which don't make me look like a girl, were given to me. I didn't mind having them because Layla and I shared a good bond. She had always been a loving and protective elder sister to me. However, when Sarah was born, she got everything new. Though the crib and stroller were still in good condition, she got new ones. When I outgrew my first bike, I wanted to give it to Sarah, but she made a huge fuss that she wanted a new one and better ones. She always got better stuff than us. Our parents ensured that she always got the last piece of the pie. Not only entitled, but she became evil and would pick up on Layla. She tried to pick up on me as well, but I was the louder one. I would yell and fuss until she backed off. Layla was a typical older sister of the house, mature, hardworking, and well-behaved. She got good grades in school, helped Mom with household chores, and helped us with our studies. The worst part was she was never accepted for all her good work, while Sarah got the center stage for being crap. Layla was a school topper, but my parents never celebrated her success. It was just, good job. But once Sarah got a consolation prize at a ballet dance, our parents went nuts and threw a celebration party. Despite this, Layla was never mean to Sarah. She just looked away, cried in a corner, and moved on with her life. But Sarah has always been so jealous of Layla. Since she could not beat Layla in academics, she would go around to steal Layla's boyfriend. When Layla complained about this to our parents, they would just laugh and say, "Oh, she's a kid, let her have him. I'm sure you can find another." Sarah never got punished for her nuisance. She made Layla the scapegoat to get away with her evilness. When Sarah got poor grades, which was almost always, she would blame Layla for not helping her in her studies. Sometimes, Sarah's nuisance would be just out and open, yet my parents would choose to look the other way or say, "My poor little girl has suffered enough due to medical trauma. Don't trouble her anymore." My mom would narrate for the 100th time how Sarah was kept in the ICU for months and she was injected with thousands of painful medications and so on. Exaggeration level 101. Amidst this saga, I remained the neglected middle child, a mute spectator, but not anymore. 2 years ago, Layla brought her boyfriend, Rick, for Thanksgiving dinner. By the way, Layla and I both have moved out and are living on our own. Luckily, Layla got a full ride from the university while I got an education loan. For Sarah, of course, my parents funded her education, yet she dropped out in freshman year because it was too hectic for her. My parents even supported her and asked her to chill and take it easy. She is doing nothing except for lounging at her parents' house. Layla and I visit home only during Christmas, but we often meet outside. Layla invited her boyfriend, Rick, for dinner with us. My God, Sarah went nuts and flirted with him. Rick is Layla's colleague and earns quite well. Layla's salary is also pretty bomb for a 26-year-old, but no one cares about that. Later that night, Layla and I found Sarah making out with Rick in the attic. Layla lost her crap. She kicked Rick's butt right there and threw him out of the house. She almost would have slapped Sarah if I didn't stop her. To defend herself, Sarah said she fell in love with Rick while giving him a house tour. She said, "The attic was so dark that we were barely able to see anything. Rick held my hands to help me climb the ladder. Then something happened. Maybe the wind that we fell in love and kissed." Do you see anyone buying this crap? Yes, my parents did. God knows what tour she was giving him in the dark attic and what ladder they were climbing. She's my sister, that's why I'm speaking with a filter on and not using any wrong words against her. Layla was so mad at Sarah that she wanted her parents to punish her. I had never seen Layla this angry. I mean, Sarah had done this kind of stuff in the past as well, like embarrassing Layla in front of her boyfriend and leaking her secrets to her classmates, bad-mouthing her to her friends, but Layla never lost her composure. But this time, she had enough. Layla put her foot down and wanted her parents' intervention. My parents are the worst mediators. After listening to the entire bit, Mom said, "Well, it takes two people to kiss. You cannot blame Sarah alone." Before Layla could react, I flipped out. Usually, I stay out of their business. Though Sarah's nuisance makes me mad, I don't intervene. But this time Sarah went too far and our parents' narcissism reached its peak. Parents and Sarah ganged up and charged at me for supporting Layla. Well, someone has to support her. She's been fighting the battle all alone since her childhood. Layla and I emptied our hearts and stormed out of the house. Layla pledged to never see their faces nor return home. She has never gone home since then. She has cut off all three of them. She had to even change her job to avoid bumping into Rick at the workplace. Last Christmas, I showed up at the house for an hour, but everything felt so weird without Layla that I left without even dinner. I occasionally respond to Dad over text, that's it. I have always kept low contact with them ever since I moved out, and the last outburst made it worse. Fast forward to last week. I got an email from Dad inviting me to Sarah's wedding. I couldn't believe she was marrying that loser Rick. I immediately denied the invitation. Dad called me, but I ignored it. After he chased me for 2 days, I answered his call. He was asking me to attend the wedding because it would look so weird if both of Sarah's siblings skipped the wedding. Since Layla couldn't be invited, for obvious reasons, I should be making it up for her. I asked him how they were supporting Sarah in her madness. I mean, she is 19, a college dropout, and has no career. Dad justified that she is a woman, and our mom was also 18 when they got married. Also, Rick was earning quite well for himself, so Sarah didn't need to work. I said, then you are okay about Sarah being a gold digger. He said, what's wrong with that? It has always been like this. Man providing for his wife. That's a man's duty. I told Dad that Sarah is not mentally mature enough to get married, and the fact that he had poached Layla's boyfriend for money itself is so wrong. He started preaching to me that they were parents and they should love all their children equally. He said Sarah didn't steal Layla's boyfriend, but they fell in love, and they are marrying, so Layla and I should suck it up. I told him that if he wants to believe that they fell in love during a 10-minute house tour, then he can do so, but I'm not going to be a part of that madness. Since then, Mom and Dad are blowing up my phone with texts and calls. They are accusing me of siding with Layla and hurting Sarah's feelings. They are making me feel guilty about not attending the wedding. They are pestering me to attend the wedding for the sake of the family. Usually, I share my problems with Layla because she's matured and helps me out with rational advice, but this time, I haven't reached out to her. I haven't told her about Sarah's getting married to Rick. I don't want to scratch her wounds. Do you guys think Sarah would be affected in any way if I missed the wedding? Ah, Sarah, the miracle child. She beats the odds, survived a dire illness, and apparently also survived any semblance of accountability or humility. You know, your parents might be onto something. Why celebrate genuine achievement and hard work when you can throw a party for the kid who once almost died and has been milking it ever since? Layla, the saintly older sister, always striving for excellence and receiving nothing but a good job pat on the back, must feel like she's starring in her own personal tragedy. Meanwhile, Sarah wins a participation trophy and it's cause for national celebration. Then there's Rick, the boyfriend turned fiance who presumably fell head over heels in love during a house tour in the attic. When romance blossoms the best. Sounds like a real catch. Who cares about principles, decency, or Layla's mental health? Now the wedding. Sarah and Rick, a match made in a dimly lit attic. Your presence is crucial. Not because they value you, but because it would look weird if both siblings were absent. Because nothing says family unity like guilt-tripping someone into attending a farce of a wedding. Honestly, missing Sarah's wedding might just be the best wedding gift you could give her. A reality check. Update 1. Hey you guys, it's been 2 years since my original post. I'm not sure if anyone would still be interested in this, but anyway, here it is. So I skipped Sarah's wedding. I was almost certain that I wouldn't be attending. On top of that, my parents gaslighted the situation so badly that I got more adamant about tossing it. A day before the wedding, Layla came to know about it through a common friend. She called me and asked if I was invited. I told her the truth. She said I could have attended. She said she had moved on from Rick and his betrayal doesn't affect her anymore. However, she was still hurt that our parents always chose Sarah over us. The poor girl didn't know we were yet to see the worst faces of our parents. Layla and I had cut off our parents since then. I occasionally answer their texts, but she doesn't. Neither do they contact her. Layla has been dating a guy, Jimmy, for 3 years. She introduced me to him a long time back, but she has not told our parents or anyone in the relatives about Jimmy. He has proposed to her on Valentine's Day and they are getting married next month. Layla wanted to get over the past and reconcile with our parents, so she sent the wedding card to them. Mom called her and said she was very happy to know that she had found love and was getting married. We thought that the bitterness was over, but no, it was just about to start. 2 days later, Mom called Layla again and asked why Sarah has not gotten the invitation yet. Layla said that Sarah was not invited to the wedding. Mom gets mad at Layla for excluding Sarah from the family event. Layla said it was not a family event, but her wedding, and she gets to decide who is attending and who's not. Since then, Mom has been pestering Layla to invite Sarah. Finally, Layla put her foot down and said if Mom forced her any further to invite Sarah, then she was going to uninvite her as well. After that, Mom backs off. But guess who comes into the picture now? Dad. Dad called me and told me there was a tussle going on between Mom and Layla for inviting Sarah to the wedding. Layla had already told me about it, so I cut off Dad in between his story narration and said, I am out of this. He insisted that I speak to Layla and convince her to invite Sarah. And why would I do that? To keep the family together? Dad shared a secret with me that Mom was pledged that if Sarah is not invited to the wedding, then Mom is also not going to attend it, and she would be cutting off Layla from her life. They are delusional to think that Layla would be affected by their cutoff. Joke's on them, she doesn't give a rat's butt about their cutoffs. I didn't say any of these words, I just said, dude, I'm out. Dad tried to emotionally manipulate me by saying that women fight because they envy each other, but it is the responsibility of the men of the house to keep the family together. So in order to keep the family together, I should pitch in. What BS? I said if they try to annoy me any further, I'm going to cut them off from my life. He called me a simp. I said, yeah, we all know who the simp is. He hung up. I am firm with my stand that I am not telling Layla what to do. She has taken her decision, and I'll stand with her. I'll update what happens next. Bravo for skipping the circus that was Sarah's wedding. I'm sure that it was a magical event with Rick and Sarah exchanging vows in the dark, reminiscing about their attic escapades. Layla, being the ever-mature saint she is, even considered reconciliation. Bless her heart. But of course, your dear parents had to ruin it with their classic move. Why isn't Sarah invited? Because nothing screams healthy family dynamics like forcing someone to invite the very person who has tormented them for years. And Mom's ultimatum? If Sarah isn't invited, she's cutting off Layla. What a masterstroke of manipulation. Clearly, Mom thinks Layla will be devastated by this potential cutoff. Newsflash, Layla has been carrying the emotional weight of this dysfunctional family for years. Mom's threat is about as intimidating as a wet noodle. Your resolve to stand by Layla is commendable. She's made her decision, and it's high time she lived a life free from the toxic cloud of family favoritism. As for your parents, they'll either come around or continue living in their delusional bubble where Sarah is the center of the universe. Either way, it's their loss. Update 2. Hey guys, I totally missed updating it earlier. A lot has happened in the last 3 years. So Mom and Layla both were stuck to their guns. Layla didn't invite Sarah, and in return our parents didn't attend her wedding. On the day of the wedding, Mom called me. I thought she was around and needed help with the address because the venue was an offbeat place. But no, Mom was sobbing over the call. She was sad because her poor little Sarah was crying for not being invited to her darling sissy's wedding. Listening to this crap made me throw up. I cracked up and laughed so hard that Mom got offended and said Layla and I both hated Sarah because she was so much better than us. I laughed and said, sure, we are jealous of a college dropout who poached her sister's boyfriend. Mom said she was done with us and they were cutting me off too. Fine by me. 4 months back, it was Layla's 3rd wedding anniversary and they announced they were pregnant. It was such a beautiful moment for us. I got so excited that I posted Layla's photo with a cute baby pouch. My aunt saw it and told it to our parents. They showed up at Layla's unannounced. They apologized for their mistakes and said they had been too tough on Layla. They said they wanted to apologize long back, but after knowing she was pregnant, they couldn't stop themselves. They wanted to be a part of her pregnancy journey. Jimmy, Layla's husband, convinced Layla to give it another shot and start fresh. Last week, my parents threw a baby shower party for Layla. I also got the invite. I showed up. My parents commented sarcastically, "How could you miss it? This is Layla's function. Her little brother has to show up." I nodded and let it slide. The function had barely started when I saw Sarah coming hands in hand with Rick. I exchanged glances with Layla. I took her to the corner and asked her if she was fine with Sarah attending the baby shower. She said yeah, she wanted to bury the past and start fresh with everyone since she was going to have a baby. I smiled and hugged her. The function began. Everyone gave gifts, showered love, and raised a toast to Layla. In between this, Sarah stood up and grabbed the mic. She said, "I am going to keep this light and humorous. Happy mommy would nurture a happier baby, Layla. I am so happy to see you pregnant. You've always been so kind to me, even when Rick dumped you to marry me. But that doesn't matter. You have come a long way and found such a good husband, and now you're going to have a baby. I wish I could also have a baby, but Rick and I are so madly in love that we didn't need a baby to complete us. But glad you planned a baby to keep your life entertained. I wish you a healthy pregnancy. You should take care because they say pregnancy in the 30s is a disaster." Sarah wanted to sound cute and funny, but her actual intention was to hurt Layla. Layla was in tears. I was flabbergasted. I stared at Sarah what the hell she just said. She shrugged off her shoulder and said it was fun. See, people are smiling. I was still schooling her when Jimmy took the mic and said, "Since my wife is a little emotional with your speech, I'll take the honor of thanking you on my wife's behalf. Let's break it down one by one. You're right. Layla has been really kind to forgive you after you poached all her boyfriends. It was due to her that you have a husband now, the lovely man Rick, who has been checking out all the women in this party. I guess that's what men in love do. It is also so true that Layla has come a long way. She started off as an associate, and now she is the vice president of her company. But does a college dropout understand the jargon, or do you want me to explain? Oh, never mind. Time's up." Sarah and Rick's face was flustered. Jimmy winked at me, and I burst out in laughter. Now my parents are mad at me that I was laughing when Jimmy insulted my sweet sister Sarah. I was like, "Where were you guys when your sweet little monster humiliated Layla on her baby shower?" Jimmy hugged Layla and escorted her out of the venue in front of her guests. My parents tried to stop him, but he asked them silently to stay away and never contact them. He said Layla and he would be cutting them permanently. Layla is upset about how everything has turned out to be, but Jimmy and I are trying to keep her happy. I hope everything turns out well for her. Jimmy deserves an award for his quick thinking and epic takedown. He managed to roast Sarah and Rick so thoroughly that even a Thanksgiving turkey would be jealous. I can only imagine the look on your parents' faces as he served up that verbal smackdown. And then they got mad at you for laughing? The irony is rich. Where was their outrage when Sarah was spewing her venom? Jimmy's protective exit with Layla was the perfect climax. Layla deserves to be shielded from that toxic mess, and Jimmy seems like the hero she needs. Your parents trying to guilt trip and manipulate their way back into your lives is just the same old song and dance. At this point, cutting them off seems like the only way to preserve any semblance of sanity. Update 3. This is the fastest update on this thread. 3 days back, Jimmy asked me to meet him at a bar. He said something urgent, but Layla shouldn't know about this. I was absolutely petrified. I thought he messed up. I rushed. He gave his phone to me, and what I saw blew my mind. Sarah had been texting him after that baby shower incident. It started with sorry and apologies. Jimmy replied not to bother him, and then he left her on scene. There were all sorts of messages like, "I really like your broad chests. You have cute pink lips." It went as far as, "I can give you what you need." She even sent a couple of bikini photos. No matter how many times Jimmy is blocking her, she's making a new account and stalking him. She must have texted him from at least 10 accounts in the last 2 weeks. Jimmy was annoyed by her constant stalking. He couldn't discuss this with Layla because that would stress her out. We had to do something. I was like, it's time to uncover the truth of the little pampered princess. We laid a plan to trap her. I called up Mom and said Jimmy wanted to apologize to Sarah. We asked Sarah and Rick to come to our parents' house. I drove with Jimmy. When we reached, Sarah was already there with Rick. On seeing Jimmy, she giggled and acted cute to get the attention. Jimmy ignored her greetings and handed over his phone to Rick and asked him to read out messages loudly. Sarah realized she was trapped. She tried to snatch the phone from Rick's hand, but Rick blocked her and scrolled right to the top. She started screaming that it was all fake. Someone from a fake account might have done that to plot revenge on her. Rick asked Sarah to show her phone, but she resisted. Rick snatched it from her hand and saw it himself what she had been doing behind his back. He threw the phone at her face and said he was done with her narcissism. My parents tried to calm him down, but he ranted about how Sarah had tried to make all the moves at his boss at his office party. She even tried to flirt with his friends, but had no luck with anyone. Who knows, she might have had something with someone. Whenever she was caught, she would say that they started it first and she just played along for fun. She started crying and pleading with Rick for one last chance, but he stormed out of the house saying he was going to meet his lawyer and get her served. After he left, Sarah started cursing us for ruining her marriage. Jimmy was about to respond, but before that, Mom yelled that it was all her fault. Jimmy and I left after that. Later that night, Mom called Jimmy and apologized. She called me the next day and said it was all their mistakes that they raised Sarah to be a brat. I said it was indeed their fault, and they should first apologize to Layla because she has faced most of the brunt of their wrong parenting. She thanked me for stepping up as a good brother and taking care of Layla while they were blinded by Sarah's selfish love.